Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 5 Tips and Tricks for Careers in Athletics. I am your host, Dr. Maury Mosovitz, with, as always, my favorite co-host out there, Jen Albanese. Hey, Jen.
Hello, Dr. Mosovitz. Another podcast. Here we
Oh, we
go.
got another good episode. What a wonderful guest we have today. This is going to be
We
so
have
exciting.
one of my favorites. She's one of my favorites, so it'll be a real good one. I'm looking forward to it. So,
Yeah, everyone's going to really enjoy her, I know for sure.
yeah. So how have you been? What have you been doing? How's everything going?
Oh, just trying to relax. I've been told that I need to pick up a hobby, so I went fishing the other day.
Oh, how is that? Isn't that like you have to be super early in the morning or what?
Yeah, I woke up around like 5:30, 5:30, get out there and,
Yeah.
saw zero fish, none. A lot of birds. I should have been an
Oh,
ornithologist.
that's a big word. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Birds, watching birds. That's all I
Oh
saw
my
was
God.
birds.
How long were you fishing for?
Like 2 hours.
Oh, see, not for me, not
I'm
for me.
trying. I was told I need a hobby. I'm working towards it. I'm doing
Yeah.
my best to I was told you got to experience other things. I do say I have a great friend that has dragged me into this, so we're
Oh,
we're
good.
getting there.
That's good. And where do you fish? Is it like
It's
going
actually like down
far?
the street. I can drive there. It's like a little stream, not
Oh, well, you
far.
do live in the middle of kind of nowhere. Not really, but it's
Listen, it's in the town. There's like a park right there. There's a Brugger's Bagels. If I ever need to like scream
oh,
for a bagel, it's right there.
all right. So if there's like an emergency or anything, like you can get to Brugger's or somewhere to.
There's people close
That's good.
by. It's
Okay.
not that remote of a fishing location.
Okay. Well, that's good because sometimes you never know. Well, that's good. I'm glad. And what else? So we've had a lot of family gatherings.
Yeah,
It's
so
that
I,
time of the
I
year.
do have a point of contention to bring up with you from a recent family gathering.
Okay, here we go. What do you got?
So your husband goes to my wife, who are brother and sister, and says,
Mm-hmm.
"Hey, I need to get in your car." And she goes, "Oh, it's open." Which I then, and we are in a very public area where this car is parked, and
Mm-hmm.
it really got to my core because I get told all the time that I leave a door unlocked in our backyard, and we are in, as you said, a remote area. Like it would take a lot for anyone to get anywhere near
Definitely
us.
a dead body hiding spot
No,
is
there's
your
no dead
backyard.
bodies. There's not even like an access road behind our house. Like you'd have to like
Exactly.
drag.
Perfect place
Hold
to
on,
put it.
you're dragging a body up a hill. Like what? It doesn't even make sense. Even a guy that's deranged and has psychological problems knows that you're not going to drag a body in the backyard back there. It's just not worth it.
You never
It's like
know.
it's like a very
Psychos.
steep hill back there. But she's leaving the car wide open for anybody to first steal the car. You can't really steal our house. You can steal the stuff that's in it, but personally, there's nobody coming this far up the neighborhood. And number two, she's like, "Well, no one can hurt you. They could hide in the backseat of the car when you get in. Like there is definitely a better chance of someone doing something in a very populated area to that car comparatively to them getting my third back door to my house and realizing it's open and coming in."
Yeah, see, for me, I just lock everything. Like I'm one of those people that it's like OCD. Like
Well,
no matter if I'm running in to my house to get something out, I lock my door because I think someone in my neighborhood's gonna take something out of my car. And like the same thing, like my husband always like kids me that I don't like to leave the garage door open. And he's like, "Oh, it's summertime, it's nice weather. Like we're gonna go back out. Like leave your garage door open. The whole neighborhood leaves their door open." No, you close your doors, you lock your doors, you lock your garage doors, you lock your houses, you lock your cars. I'm a locking person. Everything is locked.
it's like a
Okay.
state penitentiary over there. Your children are just like trying to get out. I can't get out. I'm stuck in
I'll
there.
listen, I'll
She's
let them
locked us
out.
in.
I'll let them out. It's fine. They can go. I'm just kidding. No. But yes, I'm very much about that because I'm like, you could steal something, come
I
in,
mean,
scare.
I'm not trying to leave the doors open. It's just my point is,
No.
is that if you're going to be all over me about leaving like a very remote door open, like shouldn't you lock your car in the middle of like a pretty populated area? Just that's my own thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think locking your car in all areas is probably a good idea. Same thing with locking your house every day and night. Like that's just, I have an alarm we have an alarm system. Like, it's
I'll go
protect
back there and
yourself.
look for the slaughter killer that's in my backyard. And
Let me tell you, we should take a picture and put it up on the socials because your backyard,
it's not scary.
well, sketchy.
It's not scary.
I'm not going back there in the nighttime. So
It's a whole bunch of trees. It's perfectly fine.
it's fine. It's still a lot of wooded area, and you don't know psychos. We all watch those documentaries and movies. So,
Well, 100% our guest today would probably agree with you because she basically agrees with everything you say anyways. But
no, stop it. We are very similar. So,
but we're going to be excited to get to her. So we're going to run to a commercial right now. When we get back, we'll have our guest. If you're enjoying this podcast, please follow us on your favorite podcast streaming service. The 5 Tips and Tricks podcast is a part of Athletic Career Consulting, a group focused on educating and guiding high school and college students looking towards careers in athletics. To find out more, go to our website at www.athcareer.com. That's ATHCAREER.
okay, everybody, welcome back. And we have our guest here today. So excited. Maury, would you like to introduce her?
Absolutely. I'm really excited about this one. The woman that is our guest today is one of those people that just makes whatever she is doing more fun. A graduate of UConn, she interned with the New York Islanders, St. John's University, and also UConn Athletics. She then went on to be a marketing coordinator for Syracuse Athletics, being the contact for men's basketball, and was the on-field director for football promotions. She has returned to UConn as the assistant director of marketing and digital media, serving as the primary contact for women's basketball, softball, women's soccer, cross-country track and field. She also serves as the on-field coordinator for football. Very happy to welcome Emily Quigley. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Emily.
Thank you so much for having me. Oh my God, what an intro.
One of our favorites.
Oh,
Please.
the
I'm
best.
honored to be asked. I'm honored to be asked.
We've had a lot of laughs and fun times through our times together. So this was a core group where we would just make each other laugh for a good part of the day when we saw each other. So
yeah.
I've been looking forward to this recording.
Oh, I'm so excited. No, I miss like popping into your offices all the time, just saying hi, catching up.
I mean,
So-
Emily, my office was right behind you. There was no popping. You
yelling
were
over
literally
the wall.
It
over
was
the
a pop
wall.
over the wall.
Over the wall.
No, but we could do a track walk and just pretend
Oh.
like we have a whole new setting.
The track walks are my
I love
favorite.
the track walks.
And I
Honestly,
still
that
have
was
the
so
picture
good.
of us conquering Anthony DeFito's giant arch. So I have our hands up in the air as we made it to actually stay up for more than 10 seconds in the air. So
I have that one over my desk, and I'm like, anytime I have something really challenging, you just gotta look at that and go.
It's
if I can do that,
motivation.
I can do anything. Absolutely. We're
Oh,
gonna sell
see,
it as a poster.
you could sign it, autograph it.
Good to
You've
go.
conquered the arch. Oh no, Emily is one of the best I've ever had work with me. So I'm very excited, Abby. We miss you. My children miss you. So
so much.
I just am impressed at all the stuff they ever doing at UConn. Not only regular marketing, but you got digital media plus like 4 sports. Like I feel like you must not be sleeping anymore.
I know. I can't believe you have time to do this. Like, this is amazing.
Honestly, we got a lot of sports, a lot of teams to keep up with, but it's super fun. We have such a good team there. We have our interns really like picking up a lot for us and really like supporting us. We tell them all the time we could not do anything without them. So we have
So
a very
true.
good
Oh,
team
Gotta
that's
appreciate those
responsible.
interns.
Oh, truth.
Amen. Amen. That's like a daily, like, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your help.
Yeah.
We love them.
All right. So should we start?
Yes. Okay.
All right.
First tip, big one.
All right. So did a lot of work on this, put a lot of prep into it. So my first tip is kind of about networking, which I feel like a lot of people cover, but my big thing was just that some of the most important connections that you're ever going to make are the people that are at your level. So I feel like a big thing people are told is to network and meet the bosses and the ADs and the whoever in the industry that can hire you or get you where you want to be. But I think in my experience, I've realized that a lot of the people working at my level at the time, so either fellow interns when I was in the office, people kind of at that coordinator level when I was at Syracuse, have been some of the most valuable people and the best people that I've met. I think one really good example of it, which obviously you both are familiar with, is my coworker, now my director at UConn, Brenna Sarentitis, was actually an undergrad intern with me at UConn. And we were just friends. We were GDAs, game day assistants together. And then when COVID hit, I was working at Syracuse. She was looking for a post-grad internship opportunity, and I recommended her to Jen to do our 10-month internship program. And we hired her. She's a star. She's fantastic. And then because she's so good, she got hired at UConn to be an assistant director at the time. And then, fast forward like a year and a half, she reached out to me about an opening at UConn. So I feel like that was just a really good example of someone that we just worked together. We got along really well, kind of on the same page. And then we both kind of had an opportunity to help each other advance our careers and learn more and get new experiences. So I think that's just a really good tip that someone taught me. I wish I knew who, honestly, at one point. But it was just so helpful because I'm like, you always think you have to know whoever's at the top. But
yeah, you feel like you always
Yeah.
you're looking up, but the truth be is like when you need help and when you want to kind of get the reality of things, sometimes you have to look
100%.
across, right? And like really get kind of an idea from those people that are around you. And that's going to be your peer group for the remainder of your career. And those people, the good majority of them are going to always be there. So, we've had a lot of people say networking, but you're the first one to say, yeah, you need to look at your peers.
No,
And-
it's like really sticks out. It's really helpful.
And they're the ones that you're going to learn the most from too. You're going to learn together. Like, even if it's not somebody at the same school as you, like if it's somebody, across at a different ACC school or Big East school that and you work with, like they may have tried something in a certain way and you learn from that and you help each other. And I mean, we all talk about in the industry, like you're just sharing ideas and doing the same things in different places with different, resources, but that's who you're going to learn from too. So I love that, being able to work closely and learn from the people that are right next to you in the trenches. I think that's really, really important.
I mean,
Shout out to Brenna. I love Brenna. Love her so much.
How many times have you like been at a conference or been at something and been like, oh, I tried that, except I tweaked it this way and like it made a difference. And you kind of like, usually those are the things that are the most successful, like that you've been able to like talk to someone and like at least get a foundation for something, because it is nice to be innovative and like try something completely from scratch. But the reality is those things are a lot harder to like pull off. And to have a connection with somebody that can like say, hey, like we tried something like that and this is where it worked well, or this is where it didn't, can make it so much easier to get something done.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, even like the friends I made at Syracuse, like they're all at Delaware, BC, one Joseph's still at Syracuse. And we talk all the time where I'm like, hey, I saw this on your like lacrosse Twitter account. Like, how did you guys do this? Like, who did you talk to? And it's so helpful to have people like in the same experiences that I'm having to kind of like give that advice and share what they did or where they did stuff. Like, it's invaluable. I talk to them probably too much about all their stuff.
It's keeping those relationships. I mean, it goes back to that. Like, it's all about the relationships in this industry. So you're keeping those relationships where you feel so comfortable and, hey, I'm going to text you. Hey, I'm going to email you, instead of being so formal. Sometimes it's good to be able to have those relationships that you can kind of rely on. So
and you don't have to feel like you need to impress them either. I know that's bad to say, but like,
but it's true.
You go to someone that you're maybe looking for a job from and you're like, oh, I'm a little bit worried about if I might look funny asking this, or if I should feel like I should know the answer to this. And like, it just kind of lets you put down your guard and like, just kind of really figure things out. And not to say that there aren't people that you can go to and they'll, help you out, but it at least it lets you kind of have some opening to it. So what a great tip.
Yeah,
I love that.
Ask those honest questions. I always like asking them how much it cost, because I'm afraid to ask other people.
Oh, same.
I have no problem asking people out at any cost. My boss is the CFO, so it's very easy to be like, what did that cost you? Like,
gotta report it up the chain.
It's going to be asked anyways. I might as well just cut right to the chase. Okay, let's go to your second tip.
All right. So my second tip, which I think is a little bit more marketing focused, but hopefully still helpful to everyone, is just as simple as collaboration is key. Because I think one thing that I learned coming into the industry was how helpful it is to have your fellow marketers in the department or in the industry that you can bounce ideas off of and talk to and just kind of like help figure out your way to whatever you're trying to do. So I think when I first started, I wanted to be the person who had the ideas and be like, this was my idea, start to finish. Like, I did it, get all the credit, whatever it is. But as you kind of work your way through the industry and get more experience, I realize that everyone else has so much valuable knowledge that I want to make our ideas better together. And that's something that I really encourage between our interns and whoever comes into our offices, to say that I have a good part of an idea, you guys have a good part of an idea, like let's talk about it, figure out, and then ultimately we'll get to the best solution. But I think originally I was so scared to ask for that, because you're like, I don't want people to think I'm not doing my job, I'm not trying, I'm not coming up with stuff. But it's like, I think of one thing, get us to this point, someone gets us to the next point, and so on and so forth, until you probably have a better product than anyone could come up with by themselves. So that was one that I think a lot of people are afraid to ask for that. But in marketing, I love it. Like, there's nothing more that I love than like a brainstorming session between everyone. You go, hey, I'm stuck. Like,
oh my God, me too. Love that. Love that.
I mean, that was the best part of our offices in Syracuse, was you could just roll out and be like, help, I need an idea.
Yep. Or how do we, and it's not so much, it's even like with the other departments, like with facilities, with athletic communications, with creative, with digital, like sitting there and saying like, okay, we want to do this, but how do we do this in the best way? Or how do we do this in the most economical way? Or how do we promote this so it's that much more successful? So having that collaboration, not only within your office or within the group that you're working with, but other people in the department as well, is key to reaching that goal. Like, we say that all the time. Like, if we weren't, had great relationships with our facilities team, like half the stuff wouldn't get done. So I think that's great. Collaboration is super important.
Yeah, it definitely is so much, and definitely to the other departments, like, especially for people that have more experience, you need to be like, hey, we've already tried it this way, but what if we try it this way? And you come up with something new. Like, it's so helpful. And I feel like so many people just want to be like start to finish, I did it, yay, like all of it was me. And it's like, people know a lot. People have really valuable information to share, and that's not a bad thing. It's just going to make your end product better, like the experience for the fans better, everything overall just better, I think.
Yeah, I would say personally, Emily knows my opinion on this. If you silo yourself and you don't collaborate, you will definitely not have a good result, because unfortunately, especially if you're new in a place, you don't know some of the pitfalls that have come before it, like you said. And like, and I've been in one place for a long time, so that gives me like kind of perspective, but I'll even go down the hallway, and I mean, Jen is someone that I talk to all the time, but there's a lot of people in there that just go, hey, what do you think of these ideas? This is where I'm stuck, even in stuff that is for facilities or working with coaches or whatever it is. But one of the challenges that I think a lot of people have is they want to put everything on their back. And it's like personally the exact opposite of anything that you should do, because it usually leads to kind of falling in the ditch that other people already fell in before. And you could have 100% have avoided it if you just worked with everybody. And just because you had other people involved doesn't mean that you're not going to be recognized for what you did. I think it's actually, you become more recognized for being able to work with others and like make a productive outcome and make this incredible thing than say, oh, I did all this on my own. And inevitably probably have a lot of challenges. And like to me, that's like, that's when I think the biggest mistakes I see younger professionals make is like what you said, is not being willing to be open to like working with your peers, working with people above you, and to trying to make a name for yourself by doing it all yourself. It doesn't work well in the industry.
No, I think that was honestly working with you. I think so early on in my career was such a big part of it, because I was like, there's so much you just don't know. And there's events that have happened before I got there. And I was like, if I talk to people who have done it before and seen it before, like we can figure out what works best. Like you took some of my new ideas. We took your experience from what you know works and doesn't work. And it was so helpful for like all of my first women's basketball season was unbelievable, because it was like, I can go to you, have a conversation and be like, let's try this. Let's try this. Like, I could never have done it by myself ever.
And I think if you're a good person in the upper echelon, and this is something I challenge myself too, if you're a more leadership position, you have to be open to saying, okay, this person doesn't know, they want to try it. Let's talk about ways that this might be successful this time. Because you get to a certain part, and Jen can say this too. You get to a certain part of your career and you start hearing the same things that you've heard over and over again.
That literally just happened.
and then you go, okay, this has failed 3 times before. What made it not work? And then talk to them and say, okay, you have a good idea in here. How do we help you get it to be a successful idea. And that's hard because a lot of people sometimes personally, I think, interpret that as like rejection or you don't like my idea. And I think the bigger thing is no, how do I help you get to a result that's what you're really looking for?
Right.
And I'm not
How do I
trying
help
to
you learn?
learn.
How do
Like,
I help you learn?
how do we figure this out? And a lot of times, and one of the things I struggle with is, oh, you've always done the same things, the same ways all the time. And that's not really the necessity that I've looked at it as. I think if you're unwilling to try it and unwilling to look for other ways to do it, then yes, you're doing the same things all the time. But if you're sitting there saying, well, I know what you want to do, let's figure out a way to do it within what we have going on, that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
And as a leader, I feel like I've had to be more open to be like, you know what, I have to sit here and listen through and try and be more open to things because, you know, I had experiences with people above me that were very open to me. Like, these are all the things that don't work. Don't even try getting there, which you understand why. But, and it taught me a lot. It taught me like quickly, like, this is the things you have to say no to because this is going to happen. This is in this way. But, you got to give people a chance to talk. You got to figure out, help people get to, you don't necessarily have to say no. You just have to say, we can't do it that way. Can we try doing something adjacent? Or can we do what you want to do, but tweak it this way? You know, just no is not always the best way to do it. And if you can't relate to one another, like you said, it's just such a great tip that you need to be able to collaborate with people and figure out how to get there because it's not worth doing it on your own. Like, don't put everything on your back.
Yeah, it's just like a redirection that's super helpful. Like, kind of like you said, like, we don't need to fall in the same hole. Like, we can avoid making the same mistake, but like, from my experience and your experience, like, you can try to find a new way to approach it. And, you know, that's what helps when you bring in people from other schools or other like institutions. That's like, hey, we tried it this way. Like, what's something similar we could implement this way with like the resources that we have? So it's definitely like, if you look at it as like they're helping you avoid making a mistake that other people have made before you, then it'll really change your whole mindset on it. Because it's easy to take it as like oh, you think I'm dumb, but
right.
It's, like,
it's
no,
just
like,
reframing. It's reframing the way you're thinking
100%.
about it.
100%.
That's why everybody needs an Emily at their athletic department. I could fill in a lot of different names, but Emily.
Come on, you're making me sad. Stop.
We all need Jen and Amori to direct all the youngins like
no
me.
one needs Amori, not even at the department that is at.
Stop it.
Oh my God.
Okay. That's
Number
three
three.
more. We're on
Number
three.
three.
We're on three.
All right. So the next one I have might be another obvious one, but I think it's helpful to repeat always. It's just always to try new sports. I think especially in our industry, a lot of people see the football, the basketball, the whatever your favorite sport was growing up, and they only want to do that. And then they just get like blinders on and they don't want to try anything new. And I think that's something that we really try to encourage our interns to do and our game day staff to do is keep an open mind and try different opportunities. Like we always tell our interns to sign up for all the games, all the events, and then you might be surprised by what you really enjoy. Because I think that's exactly what happened to me when I was undergrad. I worked in the UConn Athletics office, and my first sport I was assigned to full-time was volleyball. And I was like, oh, volleyball, like how fun. Like it's not the soccer, it's not like prepping for basketball. It's like, okay. And I ended up loving it. I thought volleyball was so much fun. It was so creative. Like there were so many things that we never really got to dive into. And I never would have signed up for it in my whole life. Like it probably would have been last on my list of sports. So I think it's something that I kind of got forced into it, but it really helped change my mindset that whenever I got assigned to something else that I was like, I don't know if this is for me. It's like go into it with an open mind because you'll be so surprised by the ones that you end up loving, especially from a work perspective. Because a lot of people think of it as like, would I play this sport? And it's totally different. You have so many different.
You're not trying out for the team, guys. We're not trying out for the team.
It's like the volleyball had so many more breaks in between the action that you could actually do stuff. Whereas like a soccer, which is what I would have picked, is like pregame and halftime. But volleyball, I got all the set breaks and all that kind of stuff. You get the sound effects after points. Like it was so much fun. And I never would have thought to try it if I wasn't put in that position. So I think it's just important to remind people that everyone loves the glamorous sports, but sometimes the, you know, smaller sports or the ones you might be less excited about are the most creative and like most exciting ones to be a part of.
Yeah, and I think that's for with whatever department you're working in, whether it's, marketing, like what we are, Emily, or in athletic communications or creative, like being able to and be willing to work with any of those sports, you're going to learn so much and be able to get so much good experience and be able to translate that to another. Okay, your ultimate goal is football. Your ultimate goal is to do, on field for football. Well, you got to start somewhere. So do on field for soccer, or do on field for lacrosse or whatever. I mean, you got to build up to that. And I think you learn so much
I
by
do
trying
question
every
though,
sport.
if that's your mindset, just go to work for, just only say you're going to work for an NFL team or an MLB team. Like
Right.
that is where you're going to get one sport and that's all they're going to do. But if you're going to go to a collegiate setting or a high school setting or the truth is like a lot of those sports are the incubators for being able to come up with so many things that you can do across the department.
Try so many things.
And, those sports are always the ones that are really hungry for trying things new. A lot of times, some of these other sports are like very hesitant to it. So if like you can come up with an idea for, you can put anything in there that's not football or basketball, and they'll be willing to try it usually because they want to try and look at new things. And then you can say, oh, I did this, and then have that bleed into, hey, we did this at this game and it worked really well. If I tweak it, we can do it at football or basketball. Or, wow, we were really on the cutting edge for this sport. And because we figured out how to cross over. And I just feel like so many times people are like, well, I only want to work this sport. I want to be like, then why are you here? I'm sorry. Like, that's my first thought is like, pick another place to be. Cause it's, unless you work like as a coach in that sport, you're like, there's no job that really only touches one sport. I mean,
college athletics, that's the whole beauty of it, is not doing just one sport.
Right.
So you're not just sitting there watching the same thing. I mean, I love baseball and that was what I wanted to do in the beginning, but like 72 home games of the same baseball every day could get monotonous. But in college athletics, every day is a different sport. You're working with a different sport. On any given weekend, it could be volleyball, soccer, and football within the same 3 days of the weekend. So, yeah, I think people have to remember that you want to be able to try to do everything because it's good experience.
The best part of college athletics, I think, has been kind of like sampling the different sports. It's like you get a little bit of experience in each one. And like, that's what I love about it is I'll pop into a hockey game and be like, oh, I love hockey. And then like walk down the street, you go to a soccer game. Like, it's so exciting to kind of have that like switch up every day where I think if I worked for like the NBA and all I did was basketball one after another, it's like, okay, it's fun, it's great, but it's like I would love to try something new at some point. And I think, Maury, you made a really good point where like the Olympic sports are usually the ones that are so open to trying new things and doing that fun stuff where like from the marketing perspective, like our interns love Olympic sports because they get so much more of a say in the marketing plan because they can switch things up. Whereas basketball, you're kind of following the plans that are set in place by full-timers already. So you don't have as much input where you get
or you got to get the ads in, or you got to get there's like, or there's too many people around, so you can't really like move things in a certain direction.
There's
from an
presentations and recognitions and all that kind of stuff that you have to fit in.
Things that you didn't even pick as the marketing staff.
Correct.
Like, you got told to do this. You're like, I don't even have a say over the game. Like,
exactly.
But as a public service announcement, now that we're on it, if you're a person that's going to work in the athletic department, please be open to work with everybody. And if you want to do something in the future, great. But think of it coming in that you're willing to work with everybody. If not, it's going to be a really long experience at the end.
Or short if you're just completely out of it in the beginning.
Or for some people that are easily willing to let people go, it will be short.
It'll be short.
Absolutely.
Okay. You're just rolling. And not only that, we're having such a good time while we do it.
I know. This is great. All right. We're on number 4. Tip number 4.
All right. So my last one is a little bit more for the full-timers, but I think it kind of applies to everyone. And it's really just don't burn yourself out. I think you hear about it all the time in athletics, which is so easy to just go, 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 go. We're always talking to people. We're always doing things. We always have games. But I think something that I've learned as I've kind of progressed in my career is taking that time for yourself is so important so that you can keep doing your job to the best of your abilities. And I think so much of our industry is like, if you don't sign up for all the games or you don't work all the games or you miss this one thing, like your whole career is going to explode. And it's just not true. And I've been really lucky to have bosses, including Jen, obviously, where they allow you to take that free time for yourself and say, hey, you just worked football, basketball, and soccer all in one weekend. Like, take Monday off. Like, not even a question. You need to take some time for yourself. And I'm so grateful to have people like that, because then I can look back, enjoy my weekend, and then come back fresh on Tuesday, like ready to go. But I think everyone thinks you just have to go all the time. And honestly, if you're not at a game and you think the whole thing is going to blow up without you, then you don't have a great team behind you. So I'm really lucky to work in departments where if I wasn't there, they can pick up where I left off, and I'll be back next week and nothing will change. It will be totally fine. And it's not a reflection of you and your abilities. It's that you have a great team that's there to support you, and they want you to be your best. And I just want people to know, like, you don't have to be afraid to take time off, because you want your career to be long and wonderful and fabulous. And so you have to take care of yourself too.
Say it for the people in the back. Let's go, girl.
Burn the candle at both ends and it will be done.
I've been saying that. That was one of our tips in the beginning, Maury.
Yeah.
Was, work-life balance. You've got to have it. And I try. And thank you for saying that. I hope that's like a leadership quality that I have, that I'm able to impart on my team, that you need to be able to take the time. You need to leave a little bit early after a long weekend, or come in late, or you had a late night with a basketball game, or, okay, it's summer, take some time off, like recharge. That's so important. And I think it's hard for people sometimes to grasp that and understand it. And once you do, that only makes you better at your job.
And Jen and I have talked about, like, sometimes we feel like we have to go to staff and say, hey, have you gotten a break lately? Because it will show on your work when you are just not able to function because you just didn't have a break. And so helping people get there, because when you're early on, you think that's a requirement, and it makes sense because it's a high pace and there's a lot of demands on things. But I mean, you got to find a way to try and take a break. I even find struggling to do it, feeling like you're on call 24/7 sometimes. But
there's a time and place for, like, the emergency, or like we're in the middle of football season and something comes up last minute. I get that. And I'm not saying that, because I think sometimes, like, people think like, just let it go and whatever. And you can turn the phone off at 5:00. I know, like, there's
spouses.
Times. Yeah. Okay. So I think that it's important to know that there are times where, yes, you are going to be working late and that kind of stuff. But when you can take the time, please take it, because that is important and shows that you are setting boundaries in your career and in your life to be able to have the life outside of this job. Because I think sometimes we will think that that's not possible either, but it is. It is possible to have a life outside of it. So
it's 100% possible, but also it affects like we just said, like, it affects your job. If you care about your job, then part of that is being in a good place while you're at your job.
Correct. Absolutely. Right.
No, I think I was really lucky to have both of you so early on in my career to show that, like, you can care for yourself, you can have a life outside of work, and to have bosses like you both that go to you and say, have you taken a break? Like, have you done this? Is so important, because I understand people early in their career are nervous to be like, I'm so burnt out, like, I need a break. And so having bosses be, like, proactive about that and say, you just worked all this stuff, like, you need a break, gives you kind of that, like, leeway to say, you're right, like, I could take a break. I could do it. And like you said, it's not always going to be a Saturday, Sunday full weekend, but you can come in late. You can leave early, like, take the time where you can get it, because it will help, like, so much more than you think.
Take an afternoon.
Yeah.
Run a few errands. Go to Wegmans. Just go to Wegmans, Emily. Get your groceries.
Oh my God.
You know how many times I told her that? Go get groceries at Wegmans.
Jen's the reason I made it through Syracuse fed.
Oh, God.
This is the best grocery store of all time. You have to spend time there. I miss it.
Oh, my goodness. That's a good one, Emily. I love that one.
Good one. Okay, Jen, last one. Throw it out there.
The big question. All right. So what do you know now that you wish you knew then? So what do you know now that you wish you knew at the beginning of your career?
I think one thing that I know now, and it obviously can vary from school to school, but in my experience, I think for marketing specifically, I didn't know how much of, like, a conductor you almost are, like, pulling all of these pieces together, like, in your career. Like, there are so many meetings that I've had to lead, or pieces for a game day I've had to pull together, that I'm like, what is marketing doing here? Like, I'm just doing, like, timeouts and halftimes and stuff. And I think it's something about the job that I did not expect at all. but I love so much. Like, I love being in a role where I get to talk to ops all the time and see like how are things working behind the scenes, like talk to creative and video about different ideas that we have, or comms about how we're going to release this big news. Like, that's something I just never expected to have a hand in like as a marketing professional. I just didn't see that coming, but it's been such a joy. And for someone like me, that if you can't tell, I love to talk to people and just hang out. Like, I love a job where I just like host a meeting and talk to everyone and figure out what they're doing. So I think just for marketing, I never saw it coming, but it's been such a fun part of it. And I'll say stressful sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, why am I in charge of this meeting? Like, I have to make the agenda. I don't know what's happening. This is great. But like, it's just been such a joy, and I really enjoy it. And I think more people in marketing might see it coming, but I certainly did not. So it's a good thing.
I think it's like you don't realize how much you rely on everybody else to do certain things. Like, every department is so reliant on the other to get something done or make game day work or release something really important, like a schedule release, for example, something as simple as that. There's so many different people that are involved in that, where you just think, oh, they send you the schedule and you just put it on the website and it's done. Like, there's 55 other things that go on behind the scenes, whether
Just
it's from
getting to that schedule is
right. And you don't even think about that either.
Try
Like
being the person that has to get the schedule to everybody.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, you have to get the schedule, and then it's like, okay, what's creative doing? How are we releasing it? How are we putting it on social? How are we doing a release? How are we doing an email? How are we putting it in game? All those things? I don't think people realize. It's not just hit send. There you go. There's our schedule.
Absolutely.
So the reliance on other people is, even on a game day, like you said, Emily, like, telling the band when to go, telling the team when to run, telling the smoke when to go off. Like, did you think that was going to be your role? Probably not, but it's the coolest thing to have kind of that power in your hands to do it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, literally on game day, when I'm the one standing in front of the head football coach, I'm like, please don't run yet. Like, I never would have guessed that that's something that we control.
But you crushed it. You crushed it.
I put that hand up and no one's running past me, but it's like, it's such a fun part of it. But it's like, you think of the rundown you put together and you're like, oh, well, I have to get the timing. Like, okay, let me go talk to this person about the timing of it. Like, I have to do this PA read. Well, is this correct? Like, is this actually where it's happening? Go check with these people. Like, you can't get through one page without having to double check it with someone. And you just think like, oh, I'll drop in the cheer performance. Okay, done. Like, no, there's so many steps that go into it. So it's definitely a fun part, but sometimes I'm like, wait, what? Like, I didn't know that was me.
Yeah, that's great. That's so
awesome
good.
tip. Very good. So what else do you have coming down the pike at UConn? Any other exciting things to share? And
nothing crazy right now.
I mean, they had a great year.
They did have a good. You guys had a lot going on.
Yeah.
Back-to-back national championships for men's basketball was not too bad. As an alum and current employee, I certainly enjoyed that one. But
we saw Emily on TV a couple of times in some of those Final Four games. My kids were screaming at the TV. So
now that was definitely the coolest. Was I got to go to the Final Four with women's basketball this year, which was like unbelievable.
Awesome.
Like, it's so cool to be a part of. That team has been through so much over the past few years, so it's so great to see them just persevere through all of it. But now we're in football planning season and then basketball planning season and diving right back into it. But certainly hoping for a very big year for both basketballs all the time, football, everyone. So it's all very exciting things happening at UConn. But definitely the back-to-back national championships has been nice.
Nice.
Oh, yeah, that's huge. That's huge. I know.
Well, it's always good to see you. We know that there's always a smile and a laugh over there at UConn. So if we ever head over to the campus, we know that that's going to be there because Emily's there. But thank you so much for spending time with us. And it's always so good to see you.
I know. And Emily, we're so proud of you. I always say that, but I'm so proud of you. I miss you every day. But I'm very proud of you. And I know that you're doing big things and we love you and stay in touch. And this was great. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Of course. No, thank you for having me. I can't think of two better people to lead the future of athletics. So everyone listen to everything.
We're doing our small part out there in the athletics universe.
Please.
Exactly.
Everyone will be crediting you and all of their like NACMA AD of the year.
Oh yeah, I don't think so.
Far down the pike. Well, thanks everyone for joining us on the 5 tips and tricks for careers in athletics. We will see you next time.
Bye, everybody.
If you like the 5 Tips and Tricks podcast, make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. You can rate and review us, including questions that may be answered on future episodes. The 5 Tips and Tricks podcast for careers in athletics is part of Athletic Career Consulting. Check us out at www.athcareer.com. Don't forget to follow and like us on your top social media platforms.